We were excited that Dan Forrest was elected Lieutenant Governor. We look forward to working with the Lieutenant Governor and his staff. He has with him this morning his Chief of Staff, Hal Weatherman. Hal, we're glad to have you with us this morning. We worked with Hal closely in another venue, and we're extremely honored this morning that Lieutenant Governor brought his daughter Haley with him. Haley, we're glad to have you with us this morning. As all of you know, the Lieutenant Governor is serves as President of the North Carolina Senate. Our Lieutenant Governor, Dan Forrest, is an architect. He's a registered architect. He earned 2 degrees from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. The Lieutenant Governor lives in Raleigh. He's been a long-time Raleigh resident. He has served as office president and senior partner of North Carolina's largest architectural firm, Little Diversified Architectural Consulting. Lieutenant Governor Dan Forrest is serving in his first elected office. He's never run for elective office before, but his family has demonstrated a long-standing commitment to public service. The Lieutenant Governor's mother, many of you probably know, we work with her very closely, is former Sue Myrick, a member of Congress. She served ably in the Congress for many years, and I can tell you, I don't think we ever presented a Friend of Farm Bureau award from the American Farm Bureau that Congresswoman Sue Myrick didn't win. And I told the Lieutenant Governor outside we really liked him, but we loved his mother. And I think everybody will understand that. The Lieutenant Governor does live in Raleigh with his wife Alice and their 4 children. Ladies and gentlemen, it's our honor to have with us this morning. Let's give a warm Farm Bureau welcome to our Lieutenant Governor, Dan Forrest. Dan.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here to speak this morning. It is an honor to be here. Have my daughter Haley with me. It's also an honor to be here with a good friend and mentor of mine, Supreme Court Justice Paul Newby. Justice Newby, thank you for everything you do for the state as well. And I know he's one of yours, but Justice Newby was, in fact, I think the very first person I went to speak to when I was deciding to run for Lieutenant Governor. And we sat down at his house in his living room and talked about the pros and cons of doing that. And that was a while ago. That was over 2 years ago now. And we've been on quite a run since then. And I want to thank you for your support and allowing me to be here and allowing me to serve you as your Lieutenant Governor. We did make history, as many of you know, this last election. You had the governor here speaking last night, and I may be redundant on a few things that he said, so I'll apologize in advance for that. But we did make history. From a Lieutenant Governor's perspective, it's the second time we've had a Republican Lieutenant Governor really in history since Reconstruction. So second Republican Lieutenant Governor since Reconstruction. It's the first time that we've had the General Assembly, the House and the Senate, as well as the executive team, as well as the judicial branch that are all conservative and Republican. And so from my perspective, that's a great thing. That may scare some of you. Some of you may, I've been to some of your counties and some people said, wow, I've never seen a Republican before. So having a Republican Lieutenant Governor is certainly a unique thing. We have a lot of things going on in Raleigh, and I'll talk a little bit about that here as we move forward. But I really, in a lot of ways, I envy a lot of you what you do. You're hard workers, but I envy you because I spent some time as a young man growing up spent a lot of time on my grandparents' farm and having the pleasure to live during the summers with my grandparents up in Ohio on their farm and working the farm and playing on the farm and running around on the farm and riding on tractors and riding in the back of trucks and being free on the land and working with your hands and doing all the things that I believe men are supposed to do and young people are supposed to do. And I think a lot of our young people today growing up miss that opportunity. And so we have this great opportunity now to reinvest in our culture and to retrain our kids and retrain them the value of hard work, what a work ethic means, what American values mean, what family values mean, and really rebrand the American culture. And you are at the heart and soul of that. There's nobody closer to the heart and soul of America than the farmer. And so really you're at the epicenter of our ability to do that here in America. And so everything that you do and everything that you invest is poured into the future of America. You are really the epitome of the entrepreneur in America. You take all your fortunes, you invest them back into your land and back into your farms, and then you hope and pray that God will deliver for you. And that is really what our country was founded upon. 100 years ago in America and 100 years ago around the world, 4/5 of the population of the world did not live in cities. 4/5 of the population of the world was agrarian, and they raised their food, they grew their food to eat themselves and to distribute, and now that number is almost completely flipped. We're almost a completely opposite now in the world, but the one thing that hasn't changed is the need for the food. And that has to come from somewhere, and somebody has to supply that. And so that's why you are so critical to what we're doing here in America, what we're doing for the rest of the world, and certainly what we're doing for North Carolina. And as we have a $70 billion industry here in North Carolina, $70 billion, we need to grow that to $100 billion and beyond. So we need to keep focusing on growing our agriculture economy in North Carolina. It's the one thing we can all look around and say, we still make something here in our state. We still produce something here in our state. We still export something here from North Carolina. So we need to make every effort to grow that, to expand that, to get government off your backs, to get government out of the way so that you can do that more freely. Your liberties will grow, your profits will grow, your businesses will grow, our supply of food will grow, our exports will grow, and the world will be a better place because of it. Excuse me. I want to tell you a little bit about what's going on in Raleigh and what we've inherited. Haley, could you bring me that glass of water up, please? And what we inherited. Thank you. Excuse me, I've been speaking a lot, so my voice is a little bit scratchy here. We came into office about a month ago, and really we inherited a mess on the executive side of government. It's something that we really didn't anticipate that much, but when you've had the legislature going hard for a couple years and they have their feet under them and they're going strong, they really know how to move that process along. The executive team takes over and you get control of all these agencies and departments, and you start to turn over your rocks. And what you realize from a business perspective, I'm a businessman being an architect, and you come in and you realize there's a lot of things that don't have business practices in place. There's no contract writing standards in place. There's no IT infrastructure, technology infrastructure in place to run our state. Some of the facilities, many of the facilities that we have in our state are falling apart. And these are your facilities. They're your buildings. You own them. We're elected to be stewards of them. And so for decades, we haven't poured the capital expenditure into renovating those buildings and upfitting those buildings, whether it's for technology or business practices or what have you. So there's a lot of work to be done as it relates to those types of things. In our own building, we moved into our office, and it's a 1882 home, the house that was converted into office back in the 60s. And there was still wiring in that building probably from the 60s. And we started tearing stuff out and getting rid of old furniture that was falling apart, and the place hadn't been painted in decades, and it was really just a mess. And so we went out to the private sector and we found friends to come in and paint for us, to put new carpet in for us, to donate new furniture, to renovate the entire kitchen. And we're about $500,000 worth of investment into that office with no money from the public, no tax dollars at all from the public. And so there's a new business-minded approach to how we can do business in Raleigh and how we can take care of things and how we can be good stewards of things in our state for you, things that belong to you. Tell you a little bit about the role of Lieutenant Governor, because not many people know what the Lieutenant Governor does. As Larry mentioned, Lieutenant Governor is the President of the Senate, so you preside over the Senate every day. You really just handle the floor, the debate on the floor. You make sure the rules are being followed and the parliamentary procedure is being followed in the Senate, and that's actually a fascinating job. And so there's a lot of fascinating things going on right now, and perfect time for you to be here in Raleigh. The ball moves really fast down that legislative field, and you have the opportunity today, I hear, to go down to the legislative buildings and lobby and tell them what's important to you and tell them what it means to be a farmer and what tax reform is going to do to you and that type of thing. So that's really important. I'm glad you're here doing that because that does move very quickly, and I'm glad you're getting engaged in that process. So being the President of the Senate is pretty fascinating. Obviously, you're second in command of government. If anything did happen to the governor, God forbid, it's happened 4 times in our state's history. If it did happen again, the Lieutenant Governor becomes governor. So the only reason I tell you that is that we take that very seriously. We're spending a lot of our time right now trying to understand the inner workings of government in Raleigh and how all the pieces and parts fit together so that if there was some emergency in our state, we'd be ready, we'd be equipped and prepared to take on that role. Lieutenant Governor is also a member of the Council of State, so it certainly affects many of you. It takes care of all the land deals, the leases and the land deals that are going on in our state, and you have to really pay attention to what's going on. You're talking about tens of millions of dollars every month passing through that Council of State. By Constitution, the Lieutenant Governor sits on the State Board of Education, sits on the Community College Board for North Carolina and the North Carolina Economic Development Board. And so we'll be spending a lot of our time working on things of education, especially new future technologies in education and virtual learning. As appointed by the governor, the Lieutenant Governor is the chair of the E-Learning Commission. So we'll be taking that very seriously as well. And as Lieutenant Governor, we really find ourselves as an island between two rivers. You have the legislative river, as I mentioned, that's moving really fast. It's like rapids. They got a lot of pent-up anxiety, and there's a whole lot going on there. And the legislative river's moving very quickly. And then you have the executive river, the governor's river, which is moving much more slowly and methodically as they're trying to figure out, what's going on in all their agencies and what are the challenges that we face. And so that's part of the tension that's developed in this system of government that we have in America, where there are checks and balances in the system, and that's really a good thing. And so we find ourselves right in the middle of that. So one day we're playing peacemaker, another day we're playing legislator, and we're back and forth between those things, and that's we find that to be a great place to be. I should say that with all the challenges that we face in North Carolina right now, that you really are in good hands. What the governor has done in putting these secretaries in place of these agencies, he's picked people that are business-minded. They have a business-minded approach. Most of them are business people coming straight out of the business world, making significant sacrifices to be here. Several of them are taking no salary at all to do this job. They're leaving companies behind. They're leaving their fortunes behind to come and help fix government in North Carolina during these trying economic times. They come with an approach of saying that government should be in the customer service business. You are our customers and we are the servants. We are here to serve you. That's why you elect us, to be servants of you. And so that is our job. And so you should never have a challenge reaching any one of us, getting in touch with us personally, letting us know what your challenges are, and we're here to help you with whatever challenges you face. And that's what's going on within those agencies. So some really good folks bringing that customer service, business-minded approach to government. We're doing some unique things as well. From our office, one of the things we've started doing, we'll do it again today, every week we've been going to a new agency or department, and we've been walking the halls of that agency and walking in into every office and shaking people's hands and saying, thank you for what you do. Thank you for serving the people of North Carolina. Thank you for your service to our state. Thank you for your job and how you do it. And we had, when we did this at ITS, there were actually two people. One was an older gentleman who'd worked for the government for 35 years. He started crying, if you can believe this. Started crying, and he said, nobody has ever thanked me for the job that I've done. Nobody has ever thanked. Could you imagine working somewhere for 35 years and said, nobody has ever come and said thank you for the job that you've done? Well, I only tell you that to say that there's new leadership in town. New leadership in town that's going to value the people that are working for this state, that it's going to empower the people working for this state. It's going to allow the people that work for the state of North Carolina to have their voice heard, to make change in our state as well. And those people that don't want to work in government, they'll just find their way to the door at some point and work their way out. But the people that do want to work can rise to the top, and they can make a difference in our state. So there's a lot of good things going on, and we're in this dual phase right now. On the executive side, we're in the discovery phase. Like I said, we're trying to figure out what's going on. The legislative side, there's a lot of legislation that's moving forward. Things like the healthcare exchange and Medicaid expansion, which you've probably heard about the decisions going on there. Unemployment insurance, tax reform, which you are all familiar with and will probably be lobbying on today. Photo voter ID, which will be coming down the pike as well. So continued regulatory reform. Reform of how we educate our students in a dual career track, a track that says you can be career ready and go through a vocational track through high school, or you can be college ready and go through the college track through high school. And some of those people on the career track will choose to be farmers and go into the agriculture business. And this is good. This is good for business, and it's good for employment in North Carolina. So there's a lot going on. These are all massive issues, some issues that have not been talked about for decades in North Carolina. And so you have an impact. Walking into those offices that you're going to walk into allows you to have that impact and allows your voice to be heard. There's certainly one unique thing about our Constitution, that it doesn't start with we the government. It starts with we the people. And you are the government, and every one of your voices should be heard. And that's the opportunity that you have by being here in Raleigh. You know, we also need to remember that our Constitution is the bedrock of our society, and our founding fathers here in North Carolina obviously believe that, as you've all heard Justice Newby talk about many times, that they relied on this frequent recurrence of fundamental principles, going back to the basics of our Constitution and standing firm on our Constitution, whether that's our First Amendment rights, freedom of speech, or our freedom of religion, whether it's our Second Amendment rights, our right to bear arms, whether it's our 10th Amendment rights that just say that our state is a sovereign state and that we do have powers that are afforded to us by the Constitution. It says that all those things that are not expressly given to the national government in the U.S. Constitution are given to the states. And so we have to continue to fight to protect the things that make North Carolina great and fight to protect our Constitution. And I believe that we can save America. I think that most of you would agree that in many ways America is going in the wrong direction, and you don't have to read many headlines in the newspapers in the morning before you realize that this is not the same America that you all grew up in, and it's changing very rapidly. But I believe we can save America. The way I believe we're going to do it is one state at a time. It's going to happen right here. It's going to happen at every table in this room. By you getting engaged in government, making change in Raleigh, putting that pressure then on Washington and making change. It's not going to happen from the top down. It's going to happen by you getting engaged. And I also believe that, this one may ruffle little feathers, but I believe that political correctness needs to be thrown out the window. I think political correctness is bad for America. I think that people telling you what you can say and what you can't say and how you can say it and how you can't say it is bad for America. I believe every one of you is born with a God-given right to have your voice heard, to make your voice heard loudly, to be part of the debate around the table, to bring your voice to the table and to speak loudly for what you believe in. And sometimes you have to throw political correctness out the window in order to solve the real problems of America. And so that's something that I believe passionately in. And finally, I also believe that we all need to remember that we answer to a higher power, that we don't have the answers in and of ourselves, that God has placed us here, that if any leader stands up before you and doesn't understand that God placed him at this podium, that he's not here for the right reasons, because God establishes our leaders and he deposes our leaders, regardless of which party you're from. That is the case. And so I know I'm here because of the hand of God, and I know that he has a purpose for all of us in this room, and we need to know that we answer to that higher power. And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise, and he said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody willing to get up before dawn, milk the cows, work all day in the field, milk the cows again, eat supper, then go to town and stay past midnight at a meeting of the school board. So God made a farmer. It had to be somebody who'd plow deep and straight and not cut corners. Somebody to seed, breed, and rake, and disc, and plow, and plant, and tie the fleece, and strain the milk, and replenish the self-feeder. And a hard week's work with a 5-mile drive to church. Somebody who would bail a family together with the soft, strong bonds of sharing, who would laugh and then sigh and reply with smiling eyes when his son says he wants to spend his life doing what his dad does. So God made a farmer. God bless you all.